think it's very special. It's like, you remember back in, like, there's a Showtime documentary on the golden age of, like, when Hagler was fighting Leonard and Hearns was fighting Duran and Duran was fighting Hagler, and these guys, they all fed off of each other. But it was only a few of them. Like, the UFC right now, it's a goddamn carnival. I mean, there's a fucking massive crowd of assassins that are all competing. And you'll see these new bantamweights that come into the UFC, and, you know, they might have 16, 17 fights outside the organization, and then you'll see them in their debut. You're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's world class. World class already. First fight in the UFC. I mean, that to me is so exciting, because this sport is the only sport that you could really name that if you go back to 1993 and you look at it from 2023, you're looking at a massive evolution in the game. Massive.
Massive.
I mean, not even comparable. There's not a single person from 1993 that looks like they're a world champion in 2023. But if you go back to 1993 in boxing, you got a lot of world champions. You got Oscar De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez. You got fucking assassins who can compete in any division or in any, rather, era at any time in boxing. You don't have that in the UFC. You have this complete new kind of thing that's emerging and evolving, and you're seeing these top performers that are just reaching total new heights.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like it's in like that period of like history where so I'm sure that all the sports went through this, but like wrestling is pretty standard. You know, like there's certain things that work really, really well. And of course, like people go outside the box sometimes, but there's like a proven system of like what works, where I feel like in MMA, we're not at that point yet. You know, like we're kind of like, we're all in this like discovery, like who's going to figure out how to make this thing work the best. You know, like that's almost what I feel like the race is right now.
Yeah.
Where the race is like I said, man, everyone works hard. Everyone's pretty athletic. You know, like everyone kind of has like their little quirks and like the ways that they do things or whatever. But who's going to figure out how to be like the best system of MMA? Because every other sport I feel like has done that. That's like why most soccer games look like all the other soccer games.
Yeah.
But in fighting, not all the fights look like the same fights. And I think that that's just because it's in this like realm of just full-blown creativity, which is because we're just trying to figure out like who's gonna get the best system first, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
It really is fun. It's so fun to watch. And I think that's really important what you just said, is creativity, because that's a big part of this overwhelming style that you have, is that it's creative.